Thunder 91, and though it is not Saturday, it is in fact a Thursday, we are so grateful that you can join us. Today in the studio is me, DJ Logan Stewart, and with me I have my two buds that were here last week. Hopefully you had a chance to tune in. But I'm going to give them a quick second to introduce themselves. Starting on my right, we have...
All right, Connor Gentry. What's up, everybody? How's it going?
Hey, back at it again. I'm a great 21 Pilots fan, absolutely. And his friend, our good friend... Oh, go ahead, Connor, what are you saying?
One of the Bleach Bros.
One of the Bleach Bros. I hate to let you know, but I kind of left that group, didn't I?
Oh, you did? Oh, wow,
Bro,
you did.
Yeah, don't be offended. Tad made a bet with me that if he goes brunette, I had to go purple.
Oh,
and
okay.
I did. But he didn't add on anything to the bat, so as soon as I went purple, I went back and I used his dice, so now we're matching brunettes.
Was this last night?
This was last night, you know? This is the classic,
oh,
it's
wow.
like midnight, you just bought the die from Walmart.
Oh, just like what we did.
Exactly. I'm making it a habit of making those decisions, I guess. Plus, I don't think I was blowing off the bleach like you were, man.
Right.
Like, you're rocking it, starting to get some, like, frosted tips, you can see the roof coming in, it looks great.
It's looking fresh.
It was, I don't know, it was yin
and yang. It looked okay.
It was okay, right? Right? I mean, maybe if I toned it a little bit, it would have looked better, but it more looked like a brunette pretending to be a blonde rather than like this guy bleached blonde, you know? Definitely had that going for it. Also, just speaking right now, that was Jordan. Jordan, give us a little intro, man.
Jordan Hansen, I'm back. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. Last week, the song we just barely played was Saturday. We talked a lot about the outside, briefly touched on Saturday. You may not be as big or diehard 21 Pilots fans as we are, but hopefully you'll tune in and you get to listen and maybe feel something and enjoy spending time with us. Thanks for tuning in. This is Thunder 91. Please don't fall away. Thunder 91, that was Fall Away by 21 Pilots. Hopefully you like that transition. We don't want you to fall away. Thanks for tuning in, but also got some great messages in there. Don't fall away. Is Tyler talking about falling away from God? He's talking about falling away from his true self, you know? That's something that we love about 21 Pilots is not only do they have great music, but they also have a really good message involved in it. So we're going to be diving into that today. I will say their latest album, which is called Scaled and Icy, we've all listened to. Hopefully you've had the chance to. A lot more pop oriented than we're used to, I would say.
Definitely.
For sure. Right? Even just from like the color scheme of the cover, you got some bright, vibrant blues, pinks, some yellows, which like the previous ones were just like yellow and black or white and gray. You know, very, very stagnant colors, and now we have this very upbeat, in-your-face kind of feel. What were your kind of thoughts going into this, seeing the contrast going forward, Connor?
Well, when I heard Shy Away first, and then when Choker came out, and then Saturday, the third single on the record, I knew this was going to be more of a pop-oriented record than what we're used to hearing. So I thought maybe they could have been controlled by, like, the Bishops or something. Maybe they're controlling like their music sound for this album because they sound different. Well, every single 21 Pilots album sounds different than the previous one in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But this one's like more like pop than we're used to hearing from them.
Right, and we talked about it last time when Jordan was listening for the first time. He was like, listen to, what was it, like Heavy Duty Soul and then Tear in My Heart. And you're like, this is the same artist. Not only same artist, same album, you know, but it's still like cohesive.
Yeah.
So they do have like a wide range, a variety of ways to take it.
For sure.
Do you think it was a good creative choice going with the pop?
I mean, pop is not like my favorite. I mean, I don't mind it, but like it's not my favorite. But I think it was a good choice for him to go in there just to try out like a different music genre, different music style. You know?
Absolutely. Jordan, tell me a little bit about your thoughts as far as progressing as an artist, like what Connor just said, where he's got to try something new, but also balancing staying true to what you originally sound like, what the fans expect. What were your thoughts, you know, kind of around that nature?
So, I think the move, at least in this album, towards more of like a pop vibe was good, because I mean, that's kind of what's like popular now, at least is more like, you know, pop, kind of like in like a Rush retro vibe,
Right.
if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if you guys have seen like the lyric videos or even the music videos. They have kind of like a pop essence to them as well, like
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
graphics and whatnot.
Right.
So I like it. I think it's a great move.
Absolutely. I will say, as far as this goes, something Connor just touched on is we kind of thought maybe there was outside influence that was causing him to be like this, right? We talked about the bishops last week, these embodied things, there's 9 of them that are insecurities of Tyler's that supposedly represent and control him, right?
Mhm.
Perhaps maybe this is like a mirror image rather than the bottom side where Blurryface was all about exploring those particular struggles. Maybe this one is the propaganda of that
Yeah.
particular struggle trying to put itself on parade and seem like a good thing,
Mhm.
right? Maybe something like that. Maybe these overlords of Dima are controlling you. For the term that I saw a lot was propaganda,
Propaganda.
right? With all these like flashy stuff and the stuff around like Mulberry Street, it almost looks like something you'd see on like a poster for like you're driving on the freeway and
Yeah.
you see those big signs. You
Well,
know?
welcome to Mulberry Street.
Exactly. It's almost like come in, we're welcoming, but then you get
Yeah.
in and I don't know.
Yeah.
Any more thoughts on you know their artistic moves, moving as an artist, this album? Any thoughts?
Well, I've noticed that Tyler dyed his hair multiple times for this
That's
album.
true.
Wait, he
I guess
dyed
we
it
copied
pink,
him,
didn't he?
He did.
What else? Did he dye it blue too, or? I don't think he did. I think it was just pink.
So I think in order to get the pink, I think he bleached it first.
Bleached it. Okay.
So we did get to see bleached Tyler,
Okay.
and then we got to see pink Tyler.
Yeah.
And then I think pink Tyler faded into like a frosted tips Tyler.
Right.
Right? Which also is another subversion of expectations, right?
Yeah.
We've always seen Josh Dunn,
Right.
right? The drummer of 21 Pilots. He's always been the one dyeing his hair
Oh,
and
yeah.
changing things up.
Yeah.
He went from red,
Red,
to
yellow.
pink, yellow, blue. Homie's had the whole rainbow,
yeah.
you know? But then all of a sudden they switch it, and Josh has normal, and Tyler's the one with
Right.
So I will say maybe just even on that point as far as just hair.
Mhm.
What is the version of expectations, right? And maybe it offended or made off-put a couple of fans from the get-go, you know, because they're like, oh great, my favorite band is turning into every other pop, oriented band.
Yeah.
The topic I want to kind of tackle once we come back from this next song is the idea of satire, right? Satire is kind of doing things in a copying way, but almost ironic and in a form of mockery.
Mhm.
And let's talk more about that and what I think that means and what we can, collectively come up with about Scaled and Icy. Anyway, up next, we got some jumpsuit going on, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned, Thunder 91. Thunder 91, hopefully you're in your jumpsuit like we are, ready to talk about some 21 Pilots. This is DJ Logan Stewart. On with me is Connor Gentry and Jordan, remind me your last name?
Hanson.
Jordan Hanson, that's right. Jordan Hanson with us in studio. We're going to be here till 8. We tried to get until a little bit later, but hopefully we can jam enough information in. When we left off before the last voice break and before that song, we talked about satire. And I'm just going to read you the definition of satire when I Googled it, okay? It's a noun. The use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule to expose and criticize people's stupidity or vices, particularly in the context of contemporary politics and other topical issues. With that in mind, what I think about this whole influence of outside sources with the bishops, that kind of nature, what I think is it's almost a satire. I think it's like a double-edged sword where Tyler's using them both as like I'm gonna use this ironically as pop,
Mhm.
but it's gonna unironically work.
Right.
You kinda get what I'm saying?
I get it.
Like, he's not a very pop-oriented person, right? Maybe it is the propaganda, but even using the propaganda, it still makes hit singles and it still makes a lot of money. It's
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
kind of that nature. But the satire is more like kind of pointing and like, shaking a finger at something. So I think it's simultaneously being like 21 Pilots, one of their tropes is they'll have super upbeat sounding music, but like really down lyrics, right?
Right.
I'll say in this one, there is a lot of tonal matching, right? Where it sounds one way and it is one way. I will say, towards those last couple of songs, right? Those last couple of songs,
Yeah.
Skilled and Icy, we kind of take a different direction, wouldn't you say?
I
Right? We go straight from like Mulberry Street and Bounce Man, and then hit No Chances, right? Which I don't know if we have.
I
but
hope we do.
I'll play No
man.
Chances sometime
Oh,
tonight.
man.
No Chances is fantastic, and then we get Redecorate.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to think of like a good bounce off point. I'll just say real quick, like Jordan brought in a lot of notes.
He did.
Did a lot of
yeah.
research for you guys.
Probably too much.
But I'm gonna turn some time over to him just to talk about a little bit with Scaled and Icy, with the idea of satire, propaganda, or just his overall thoughts. Jordan, tell me what you're thinking, man.
So yeah, I agree. Like towards the end, it kind of of the album, the sound and the messages seemed like they were like more in line than they have been in the past, or with like earlier in the album.
Right.
And then as far as like satire, in Never Take It, I was looking up some of the lyrics, and I mean they can be kind of deep if you actually think about it.
Yeah.
Let me see here. So towards the start of the song, he says, "Information is just a currency." So, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's a mockery of like higher education or you know what I mean?
Probably like a slander on indoctrination,
Yeah.
right? Because I feel
Yeah.
like maybe this is talking about the system that we live in. Maybe it's talking about the particular one that he's in, but it is talking about like education, like air quotes on that. It's a form of currency. It's like
Right.
me pushing the budget or pushing whatever I need to push
Yeah.
to get an investment return. It doesn't matter if it's true or not, right?
Right.
So I think especially in Dima, a lot of indoctrination is happening, you know? Like being the propaganda, all of that stuff totally fits into the narrative. Jordan, keep going, man.
So, also in Never Take It, I believe this is towards the end of the song. He says, "They're trying hard to weaponize you and I, but we'll never take it." So, I'm not sure if that's like a slam on like media or you know, well, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist guy, but like what the government's trying to get people to think, you know, stuff like that, trying to divide us.
So
Right?
the authority trying to shove stuff down your throat.
Yeah.
And even just from the title, the Never Take It, right? The whole song is like dun, 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 you know, and sounds like almost like a theater song.
Yeah.
But then the whole thing is about like, we're not gonna take the crap that you give us. And very rebellious, you know? Very much lives up to the Banditos.
And there's a guitar solo in Never Take It. Like,
Oh yeah.
who would have thought that in a 21 Pilots song?
Right. Actually, that works out perfectly because he talks about that. He's like talks about how he picked up guitar.
Yeah. During like
tearing it
quarantine or
up,
something.
Picked it up during quarantine.
Yeah.
Did you know the first song that he actually built around playing electric guitar?
Was it Level of Concern?
It was.
It was Level of Concern.
I'd
I knew
say
it.
that's a perfect opportunity for us to show that song real quick.
Let's do it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Alright, Level of Concern from No Pilots, Thunder 91, thanks for tuning in. Logan Stewart, Connor Gentry, and the Jordan Hansen, I remembered it this time. Thanks for tuning in. We're talking about our 21 Pilots Thursday hour, and that was Level of Concern. That was, some people even called it the quarantine theme song, you know? 21 Pilots dropped that in the middle of quarantine. It mentions quarantine, but totally works, you know, outside of it. It's not just an exclusively locked up kind of song. Good parallel of him talking about his relationship with his wife, and how the nervousness of that matches the nervousness of not knowing what's going to happen in the world, right? They're both very unsure foundations, but hopefully you can be cautiously optimistic, right? We talked about Level of Concern and how I mean, obviously a great song, but it doesn't really fit in with Trench, which came out in 2018, and doesn't really fit with Scaled on Icy, which was 2021, right?
Right.
It doesn't really fit either of them, but it kind of works well as a transition one. The songs that followed, we got a lot from Scaled and Icy, a lot of pop, like we talked about. But one that we really, Jordan even said he's not a huge fan of, and we're kind of confused by, is the one Formidable. We'll be playing that in a minute, but I kind of want to hear before we go into it, not to taint your experience, but I think this is the only one that Jordan didn't like on the album, right?
It is.
Yeah, tell us why, Jordan.
The rest of the songs are amazing.
Mhm.
It's a good song. It's just kind of like what Logan said. It's confusing because like you don't really know what's going on. Like you could be talking about like literally anything, but like it's just so vague.
Yeah, like, is he talking about God in the song? Is he talking about his wife, his child, Josh? Like, what's he talking about?
Great points, great points. Almost made it sound like his child is Josh, you know? You're like, that child Josh? I'm like, yeah, I mean, they kind of have a dynamic that's just like
Child
so perfect. It could be brotherly, it could be father-son, it could be, you know? But you're right, like, I know 21 Pilots does like making lyrics that are open-ended, but maybe for this song, did they cross the line?
I think they went a little too far.
Maybe Jordan says you went a little too far. Let's play it, and we'll come back to your thoughts and talk about what we kind of thought of it. All right? Sound good?
Yep.
791, Formidable by 21 Pilots. Talk to, well, we talked about that song and the open-endedness of it. Probably, if that was your first listen, you probably don't know what it's talking about. That's probably my umpteenth time listening to that. Still not sure what that's talking about. Of those options that you laid out, Connor, what are your kind of thoughts of what you think that song could possibly be?
I saw an episode of the Pop Song Professor about, he's going into that song, and I think he said, in his opinion, I think he thinks Tyler's talking about Josh, I think. But,
okay.
So I'm going to stick with that. I think he's talking about his bandmate Josh.
Alright. Any specific reasoning for why you think that, or is it just because the pop?
Well, I think
said that, or
with his music, he needs with making music, like Josh is formidable to Tyler, and he needs to keep like helping him make music, you know.
Great.
You know,
point.
that's what I
like
think.
that. He's formidable to Tyler in the creation process.
Right.
Love that. Jordan, tell me a little bit. What do you think it means when he says, "Cause you seem to know it where you want to go"?
You seem to know where you want to go.
Yes, that line. I mean, with all the options laid out, do you think that's talking about, you know, Josh because of his experience of music making? Do you think it's talking about God because God orchestrates their life and knows where he wants to take it? What are your thoughts on that?
So, for me at least, I think, yeah, that's either talking about Josh and like his music, or maybe, hear me out, maybe Tyler's wife, if that makes sense. I don't know though.
Okay, because right when I first heard the song, I thought it was about like Tyler's wife, like tearing my heart with.
Yes, tearing my heart.
I thought,
Smithereens. Yes. Both like love songs to his wife, and I kind of thought this fit the same trope.
Yeah, I thought this is like the song for this album. And then when I saw the Pop Song Professor, he's like, I think it's talking about Josh, and I first disagreed when I first heard him. I think it's about Josh.
Okay.
But I could
Great
be wrong.
reasoning. My thoughts, I think those both can be right. Right?
Yeah.
I think this song is intentionally left open because it can be all of them.
Right.
Personally, I think this is the first album where Tyler Joseph had a daughter.
Yeah.
Right?
Isn't he expecting another one?
He is.
Or
Jenna
his
Joseph
wife?
is pregnant again. And I think we're getting a boy this time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A future Tyler.
Yes, exactly. Tyler Jr., I'm ready for it. But Rosie, his daughter now, the way I imagine it, I think it could be both your wife helps steer you, God helps steer you. That's why you seem to know where you want to go.
Right.
Well, I think it might be, is I think even the pop professor might have touched on this too, is that maybe his daughter Rosie, like toddlers, as soon as they learn how to walk, they don't really have a direction of like where they want to go,
Mhm.
but they know where they want to go.
Oh.
As soon as they're
that's
going
true,
somewhere,
yeah.
they're like, I've made up my mind. This is where I'm going.
Right.
And it's like Tyler being endeared and saying, you seem to know where you want to go. Yeah. I'll follow you.
Yeah.
Both because I need to take care of you, and because oh my gosh, what bonding moments to just see a toddler like
Yeah.
enjoying the little things of life as walking.
Oh,
We don't appreciate walking anymore.
Warms my heart.
Exactly.
See little kids
Exactly.
trying to learn how to walk.
So I think also with the line, fast forward 13 years now, don't know what it was, but somehow we played it out in reverse. I'm afraid of you now more than I was at first.
Oh.
That's good.
I don't know how that could fit in with other ones. Maybe it's like 13 years ago Tyler started making music or something along those lines. I haven't studied the time frame, but I will say 13 years, Rosie's gonna be a teenager.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of you now more than I was at first.
Because when you're a
What's more scary than a teenager?
Yeah, because when you're a because when you're a teenager, you're all like sassy. You're like, oh, I don't give a crap
Exactly.
what my parents think.
Exactly. And speaking of sass, there's whole compilations of Tyler Joseph being sassy on the
Yeah.
internet, right?
Yeah, in interviews.
Yes, exactly. He's like, oh, no touchy, or like, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Imagine girl Tyler
Oh my god.
sassing Tyler.
It's
You
getting
know?
bad.
Right? Picking up on how Tyler is and then
Yeah.
adding it her own flair.
Yeah, and boy teenagers could be worse than girl teenagers.
Oh,
I think so.
I mean, I think you're
I
right.
don't know. Well,
I wouldn't say the majority. In my opinion,
Like 20%.
I'll just say I'm way more scared of my teenage sister than I am my teenage brother.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Because, I guess we're getting personal, but, dude, the hormones, I just think they affect the different genders different,
They do.
right?
They do. No, I was in this health class last semester, and we were talking about this, like how like women feel hormones more strongly.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
Yeah, literally.
So I think with Tyler talking about his daughter,
Yeah.
I think he has very good reason to be very afraid of him. Like, oh, you're a cute toddler.
Oh.
Wait, I
yeah.
realize you can be horrifying. You're gonna be a monster, I mean, I didn't expect this conversation to go here.
No.
I don't think you guys did either,
No.
right? But yeah, my little brother, it's like he went from, hey guys, to, hey, what's up? No, I'm moody. And my sister went from, I'm happy right now, and then like, hunger strikes, and she's like, I'm gonna murder everyone in this family,
No, literally.
Like, yes,
Yeah.
you have a sister.
Oh, yeah,
You have sisters,
yeah.
Connor?
I have one sister.
You have one sister.
One sister,
Okay,
but she's
I mean,
older.
you have one sister
Yeah.
too. I have two sisters.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean it's awesome.
I'm
I love them.
sorry.
I love them to death. My favorite people. But
No,
I like to stay on the good side.
I-
Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember like in middle school, right when like guys' voices started to change, like so many guys in my class, whenever they make a comment, their voice would like crack.
Oh yeah, dude. I don't think women get that as bad. So
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
found their blessings there, but I
Yeah.
still think they have it worse. as
Yeah,
far as
yeah.
The whole maturation thing.
Right.
Yeah, gotta love the
Hmm.
talking. I see that studio
Oh my
sketch.
gosh.
It's like the teenagers were sneaking out back, doing agnic and squeaking their voices.
Oh my gosh.
Like no chance,
Okay.
bro. No chance.
No chances.
No chances. Ain't you perfect? Ain't you the apple of my eye, Colin? You just know how to slide
I'm the goat.
right
I'm
into
the
the
goat.
songs that we're going for. No chances.
Here we go. That was interesting.
That's pretty good. No chances you took off, right? Thunder 91, this is Logan Stewart, Connor Gentry, and Jordan Hansen. And I was talking about 21 Pilots, No Chances was just on. And what was the terms that we used? It kind of sounds like some chanting.
So, The main chorus, "We come for you, no chance." Yeah.
Right,
That
right.
that's in my opinion, it sounds like two like student sections at basketball games, two opposite student sections chanting at each other.
Yeah.
Like on one side and on the other side, they're chanting back.
Absolutely. Kind of sounds like some sort of standoff.
Yeah, or like a soccer game or something like
Mm.
that. Yeah.
Like something to cheer in a stadium.
Yeah.
Like Seven Nation Army.
Yes,
Like,
yeah. SU should start playing that.
Dude, that'd be so fun. Dude, can you imagine how intimidating
Oh my
it would
gosh.
be? If the other
To
team
come
comes in
here?
like, we'll come for
No
you.
chances.
No chance.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'd be intimidated.
Oh yeah.
Well, like even with the little lyric video of this, the start of it, like some of the graphics they use make it look like some kind of college like sports
Yeah.
thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Interesting. I don't
Yeah.
know if I've actually seen that lyric
It's
video.
good.
Yeah,
It's good.
I'll have to check it out. Absolutely. No Chances is the second to last song on the album. I think it's probably one of the shortest, if not the shortest 21 Pilots album.
It's
so
the
far.
shortest one.
Most of them around an hour, right? Hour 15.
This one's like what? Just over like 35, 40 minutes?
Yeah, it's 38
short.
minutes.
Wow.
You're right.
Dang.
Very short, very quick and to the point. I think I have the same amount of songs as most of them, around 11.
Which I think their next album is going to be maybe their longest or one of their
You
longest.
think
Since
so?
it was a short album, they want to make it longer for this one.
Right, right. Quickly on that, last week Connor called the next album
Endgame
Endgame.
for 21 Pilots.
21 Pilots Endgame. What a thought. With that in mind, I want to say, I think this album sort of mirrors the last album, in the sense that all of the ones in the last album were really deep, right? I can't really think of any superficial ones. But in this one, we get the flip where all of them are kind of superficial.
Yeah.
And then we end on like maybe let's like imagine, especially since we have a lot of water in the music videos, and even like a lot of 21 Pilots' old song "Drown," you know. It kind of makes me think that we had our head underwater this whole time, or how 21 Pilots said at the beginning of the Jumpsuit music video is, "You were asleep, time to wake up."
Time to wake up. Yeah.
I think it's kind of like at the end of this, No Chances and Redecorate is kind of him waking up. Wouldn't you say? It kind of goes from the jovial tones of
That's
Bounce Man
That's a good point. Yeah.
and all these other ones that are up and upbeat, and then we go flip straight into Redecorate.
Yeah.
One thing I love about 21 Pilots is personally struggles in the past. They have, I don't know if we're again in trouble for talking about it on the air, but obviously it's real with mental illness and mental health problems. Suicide. Suicide is something that's very rampant in society today, and 21 Pilots have their song Neon Gravestone.
Oh, that's so deep.
It is
Have you heard that?
Yeah, that's a good song.
tearjerker, like, wow, everything they say. The word suicide isn't mentioned once.
Promise me this.
Yes,
So
21
this
Pilots
myself.
gives like a 4-minute song
Oh my gosh.
about the topic.
Oh.
It doesn't mention the topic.
Like the
Like
first
the name of it,
the
you
first
know?
time I heard that song, I was like shaking almost.
Right?
It was insane.
Like, especially with that album, like, it's not as superficial as this one, but all of a sudden that one almost is like, they reach straight into the depths of hell and is like, okay,
Yeah.
artistically, we're gonna coat this awful thing and we're gonna make it so people can handle it and like digest it. But it's a tough one. Redecorate. Speaking of lyric videos, I watched the lyric video for this one, and originally the song was supposed to be called Display. 21 Pilots lead singer Tyler Joseph has a friend, I think it was their son.
Oh.
Their son passed away. Wasn't to suicide, but passed away, and he talked about their struggle of whether they should clean up and clean out his space and make room for someone to take that room, or if they should leave it undisturbed. Right? Which is kind of the deeper battle of memory of how they were, or do I accept that they're gone and I move forward with it? Right?
But that's a hard choice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
And
so hard.
speaking of like, it's left up to the listener a lot of the time. I don't think there's a right answer in this place, right? And the protagonist in this, I think we get two perspectives, maybe three. I think we get three people talking, but they're more just asking questions. They're making statements and asking questions. They're not giving answers in any case. The chorus is, should I leave it on display?
Right.
Or redecorate? I think we'll dive into this song in a second, but this is my favorite song from the album.
I love it.
I don't know about you guys, but I think all of it's good and it's very, I would say the song's almost cathartic. Because the whole time we're having this upbeat, like, good stuff going, and then all of a sudden it's this sugar-coated misery, if you will, right?
Yeah.
It's like, this is a heavy one, but it's almost on the same level of upbeatness and same tier that they get away with it. We'll probably use this as one of our last songs as we're approaching the end of the hour. It's coming up on 8. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have resources. There's always a suicide hotline. Know that there's help. You can always reach out if you're having thoughts of, things of this nature. Just talk to a friend.
Can I give my final thoughts?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you guys missed last week's episode of our podcast, it's actually on my YouTube channel. So if you want to listen to that, and then this episode right now is also going to be on my YouTube channel. It's called Connor Gentry TV, so give that a subscribe, and you can see what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. Great point. Maybe you can drop some resources
Yeah.
if anyone's struggling,
Yeah.
We want to have, good open discussion, but we also, those real topics. And
Right.
Twin Pilots is really great at hitting those.
Right.
We'll lead out with this, and we'll give a couple more thoughts, but stay alive, friends, and here's Redecorated. Thunder 91, thank you so much for tuning in and listening with us. To recap, we've talked a lot of Twin Pilots today, and we talked about Sealed and Icy, specifically some of their songs, including Formidable, and touched briefly on a lot of
Never Take It.
And the satire, satirical nature of it, propaganda, stuff of that nature. As we close up and the end of the hour, we'll just talk about that song that was just barely there, Redecorate. I think there's a lot of beauty, obviously in art. I'd say there is also a beauty in art when you get to discover it for yourself. I will say I felt this one.
Yeah.
I felt this one before I figured out what it was all the way about.
Oh yeah.
I think music has an ability to hit you
Oh, it does.
and make you feel things even if you can't register what you're feeling, at that moment. Obviously we spoiled what the song's about, suicide. And before I go into my deep dive, Jordan and Connor had some things that they were saying about this that I 100% agreed with. Jordan, what were you saying there?
So, at least for me, it kind of reminds me of Blurry Face a little bit, like the bass line, just kind of the overall vibe, even though it's talking about something completely different. The general sound is kind of similar.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then I was talking about Redecorate sounds just like similar to More from Trench album. Like you can put the Morph beat on there and then have the same lyrics for Redecorate, and it would fit perfectly.
Absolutely. On those points, we did mention that these last couple of songs in the album don't really, not that they don't fit, but they're almost reminiscent of earlier Twin Pilots.
Right.
Which is kind of what we needed, right? We love the new Twin Pilots, but all of a sudden the refreshing, almost like a splash of cold water on you and said, hey, we're still the same band. We still talk about what we talk about, and we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, when I heard those last two songs, No Chances and Redecorate, the first time I was like, hallelujah, 21 Pilots is not going anywhere.
How wonderful it was. And I think we both had the same reaction of listening to it on repeat, right?
Yeah.
How many times did you listen to it?
Like 5-10 times in a
5
row.
or 10 times.
Like dang.
Like this is it.
Like this
is
hits me.
exactly
This
the
hits me.
culmination
Yeah.
we needed. And I think it hits that perfectly. Jordan.
I think it's kind of interesting they ended with these two kinds of songs. Like maybe the next album is gonna be more
Like similar kind of.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I
kind of
think.
like a retro album maybe.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Absolutely. And I think maybe it'll be a culmination of it all. And it's like with Endgame, the movie was wrapping up several different genres of films in
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Right?
just put 20 songs on this next album, 21.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
21 songs for 21.
20?
Yeah, there we go.
No, I would
They should
have
do
a
that.
heyday. That would be wonderful. 21 songs. Oh, you're so right.
Alright.
But I will say, I'll choose quality over quantity every time.
Yeah.
And I think this one definitely hits it on the head.
Mhm.
Hits it with the quality.
Mhm.
To wrap up, we'll just talk about the sad nature of this song, obviously.
Mhm.
But in the first verse, I think it's talking about a man who's coming to terms with death.
Yeah.
The second one is a girl talking about how she doesn't want to change her name, or she had plans to change her name, but not the traditional way. A couple of ways you could read that. The way I normally read that is, when you read something after someone passed away, it's no longer Mrs.
Right.
Jones, it's the
Yeah.
former Mrs. Jones, right? And then we have the bridge, and I think the bridge is probably one of the most clear glimpses we get into Tyler's state of being during quarantine and during his creative process.
Definitely.
With the bells and the whistles scaled back on the isolated track. First of all, that's where we get the term scaled and icy.
Mhm.
Scaled back and isolated is where we were in quarantine, but it's also a perfect description of a dragon, scaled and icy.
Yeah.
And he feels trapped when he's not inebriated.
Mhm.
Last week we talked about inebriated with chlorine,
Right.
right? The chlorine is the creative process, making music. He's not inebriated. If he's not doing that, he doesn't feel good, right? Go back and isolated. So he likes an open schedule, but he mostly hates it. Open schedule, we had a lot of free time on our hands during quarantine. And Tyler says, hey, I thought of this would be a great idea because then I could make music all the time.
Right.
But when he doesn't have a clear schedule,
Mhm.
the days fade into each other and all of a sudden the times blur.
Right.
Take a breath before you break in, put your ear up to the door, tell me can you hear him saying. So I think that is very much in Saturday really quick. We get a call from Jenna, and Jenna's calling and saying, making music? I want to spend time with you.
I want to watch Friends with you.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. And Jenna's like, it's almost like come hang out from AJR.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
come spend time with your family, This is
Yeah.
important, but we're important too.
Mhm.
I think this one is him talking about, in Levitate and the metaphors of dragons, his fire breathing, his creating music, even his rap, stuff like that. When it says, put your ear up to the door, tell me, can you hear him saying? It's a combination of him saying, I'm both trapped, but I like it.
Right.
Right? And it's kind of a big message underlying a lot of this, is he's trapped, but he likes it.
Mhm.
Anyway, rambling on, basically, go listen to these guys, right?
They're great.
Almost like scripture, bro. You can get something new out of it every time. You can
You
interpret
really
it to your personal situation. What a wonderful band and what a wonderful time that we get to be alive and to experience it.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah. And for that, stay alive, friends. We love you.
We'll be back next week, right?
Be back
Oh, yeah.
same time
7
next
o'clock.
week, Thursday, 7 to 8.
Okay.
And maybe we'll wrap up some 21 Pilots and move to another artist.
Let's do that.
Maybe some AJR, John Bellion, something like that.
It'll be a surprise.
Absolutely. Make sure you're here next week, and we'll see you later.
Bye.